Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of I Bought a Watch. As always, if you like what you see and want to see more of this kind of content, please remember to like and subscribe. It really helps the channel out. Every day I'm amazed at all the new people I'm seeing and talking with in the comments, so just wanted to extend a welcome to everyone who's joined since my last update video and say a big thank you. Today we're going to be looking at a rather interesting piece, and it is this haxle from Oxford-based startup RADCLIFFe Watches. The company, like my channel, were founded during the coronavirus pandemic, and quite frankly, what they've achieved in such little time is astounding. Now this video is going to be a little different, as I'm going to be looking at what is very much still a prototype. And as such, there are a few QC issues and changes that I've been told will be corrected before the final release. So the basic structure of this video will be things they got right, things I'd like to see them improve on, and then I'll address some of the changes that they've already agreed to make. As always, please do leave your thoughts in the comments below. And if you're interested in updates on this piece and where to pick it up, I've left a link to their page in the video description where you can sign up to their newsletter and get updates on their pricings and Kickstarter launch. Okay, so on to the watch. So the one I've got here with me today is in fact from the first run of prototypes, and as such is customized with one of the founders' names on the back. So once again, thank you Tayyab for lending me your personal watch. So let's get straight into it and start with things they've got right. First off is the design. Personally, this is something that I've not seen before, and credit where credit is due, I think this is a really unique looking piece. The dial is of course the standout feature here. There is really so much to be said, so let me go over some of my highlights. Starting with that punchy orange on the chronograph hand and the two sub-dials. It just really pops and highlights the functionality and primary complication of this watch, while also drawing attention to the running seconds, which I find can so easily be lost when it is designated to a sub-dial. Speaking of the sub-dials, I love the use of texture here. The design as a whole feels very conscious of its use of texture and how it can affect the contrast and as a result legibility of a piece. The way that black hour and minute hand all but disappear, leaving the loomed portions to glide across the dial, only connected by the faintest glimmer of their gloss finishing, is really a nice touch. And the eye-catching concentric squares and X-patterned sunburst effect of the sub-dials really creates a contrast against the matte of the rest of the dial, even on this all-black color variant. This contrast is further aided by the dial's architecture, as the sub-dials are also recessed, creating a wonderful layered effect. This layered effect is also enhanced by the raised center portion of that dial within that minute track. And actually, the minute track itself warrants a special mention, as I love the way it transitions around those oversized square sub-dials. All in all, a very impressive design and layout from a first-time watch designer. The use of color is of course very important in any watch design, and RADCLIFFe watches seems to be covering all options. From various different dial colors with complementary indices and tachymeter inserts, black and white handset variations, and a choice of case finishings, they seem to be en route to creating a real crowd pleaser. Speaking of crowd pleasers, the list of specs here are music to any watch enthusiast's ears. The engine under the hood here is an ST19, a hand-winding mechanical chronograph movement, and it actually has rather an interesting history. If you want to hear more about the history of this piece, I did cover it in a previous video and I'll pop a link on screen now. Dimensions wise, we have what some might consider near perfect dimensions. A 40mm diameter, 47mm lug to lug, a slightly high 13.9mm case height, but that does include the domed sapphire crystal, and of course a crowd-pleasing 20mm lug width, allowing you to swap out straps to your heart's content, made all the more easy by these quick release spring bars. As I mentioned, the watch features that domed sapphire crystal, which actually has an applied anti-reflective coating on the underside and is actually part of a sapphire sandwich. As flipping the piece over, you can see the watch features a display caseback, revealing that beautiful ST19 movement. The signed caseback is screw down and features a list of the watch's specifications, including 100 meters water resistance, which gives you ample peace of mind when getting this one wet. Personally, I might advise against taking this one for a swim, especially on the supplied leather strap, and also due to the watch only having a push-pull crown. The crown, like the case back, is signed with the RADCLIFFe R, and so too are the buckle and underside of this strap. It's nice to see that they have thought about branding throughout the piece. Last but never least is this watch's BGW9 Swiss Luminova Lume. And to be honest, I am quite impressed. Although the dial is nothing to shout home about, the handset really impressed, with a bright initial blue burst that really hangs on considering such a small application area. Now that we've talked about the good, it's time, unfortunately, to reveal a list of improvements that I would like to see in this watch before it's released. Before I do, just a disclaimer, a majority of these were pointed out by the founders themselves, and so they are working on making the necessary changes to improve on them for the next round of prototypes. That being said, let's go through them now. Starting off is, of course, quality control, and unfortunately it seems to be a trend in a lot of affordable watches, and more specifically it's alignment issues. As I'm sure the eagle-eyed of you will have already noticed, there are a fair few. Starting from the outside in, we have a misaligned tachymeter bezel, which you can see is ever so slightly to the left. Moving further in, you can see that the coloured hour marker indices are misaligned within the white printed minute track. The printing as a whole is very crisp, but they also seem to have a problem on the far left side of that 9 o'clock subdial. For some reason it seems just a little spiky, like they ran out of ink. Another rather comical issue is on the 3 o'clock subdial, as where they didn't perhaps use enough ink on that 9 o'clock, they certainly used too much on the 3, as there are a whole extra 6-minute markers. One extra between each of those 5-minute indexes. This means when you're using the chronograph register hand is misaligned with the markers, making it unfortunately unusable. Another issue I've noticed, which could perhaps be an optical illusion, is that the tail end of those subdial hands appear to be ever so slightly different shapes. This perhaps is an unfair criticism because it's just such a tiny, unnoticeable detail, but just having them orange against the black really makes them stand out all the more. This issue is also shared with the chronograph hand, which on occasion when resetting the chronograph does not perfectly align with the 12 o'clock. And again, due to the high contrast, this can be rather jarring. Another improvement I'd like to see is in the finishing. Due to the unique shape of the case, the brushing is not uniform, and as a result you get this sharp change of finishing between the lugs and the rest of the case. As you can see, it is vertically brushed within the lugs, and I did find it actually catches the light differently, giving the watch a slightly odd look. Finally, I want to talk about the strap. Although a great complementary colour and comfortable for the time being, I feel that with frequent wear, this would cause it to deteriorate over a fairly short period of time. So I'd like to see a more substantial strap being used in the final product. Okay, so that's how the prototype stands at the moment. However, as I mentioned, over coffee, me and the founders discussed a range of changes and stretch goals that they hope to implement in their next series of prototypes. Other than aiming to fix all the aforementioned QC alignment and printing issues, changes will also include applied indices with stronger lume at the 12, 3, 6 and 9 o'clock positions, a ceramic scratch-resistant tachymeter bezel. They're looking at sandblasting the case in order to bypass some of the case finishing issues, and are also working to improve and offer alternate straps. On top of this, they are looking to include a 12-month international warranty on their watches, and are planning to have organised QC checks on completed watches once they begin large-scale manufacturing. My overarching impression of RADCLIFFe watches is very positive, and I'm really excited that this new startup in my hometown of Oxford seems well on the way to creating some really cool pieces. Of course, like any startup, they do have some teething issues, and I hope they overcome these, as I think they might be onto something great. I just want to say a special thank you to RADCLIFFe Watches for giving me the chance to have a look at their new piece. It's been a real privilege getting an insight into watch production, and lovely to see founders who are set on improving and not stopping until they reach a piece that they're satisfied with. I really want to wish them the best of luck. And if you want to keep up to date with the progress of this watch and the company as a whole, follow the link in the description and sign up to their newsletter if you're interested. And as always, if you did like this video, please remember to like and subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you all again in the next episode. Bye!